All righty, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Eric Rodell. I am our Industry Engagement Manager here at People4Bikes. And you're joining us on Zoom for the first time, where we'll be on camera here with our presenters for the rest of our webinars that we host at People4Bikes. So thank you once again for joining us today for our town hall with our new CEO, Jenn Dice. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the great work that she's done for the bike industry through the years, and we're excited to share some of the work and the plans that she has in store for us coming up here in the next year and beyond. So we always like to thank our members. Of course, without your financial support, we couldn't do the great work that we do in Washington, D.C. and beyond in your localities at the city and state level as well. So thank you once again for being a member of People4Bikes. And if you're interested in coalition membership, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And you can email me personally at ericb@peopleforbikes.org. Introducing our speakers for today, of course, we have our own CEO, Jenn Dice, with us. And we have Sarah Studdard here to help us with our Q&A session. Sarah is our Director of Local Innovation with the Places for Bikes team and helps to run our city ratings program, among other programs that we have under the Places umbrella. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Sarah to walk through our very brief agenda, and we will get started.
Thanks, Eric. Hi, I'm Sarah. As Eric said, I support our Places for Bikes program, which works to get more people on bikes by supporting the planning, implementation, and activation of complete bike networks. We're going to hear from Jenn shortly on the mission, vision, and our 2020 work plan for People4Bikes, but kind of as you all are here listening and interacting with us at home, please submit any questions you have for Jenn in the QA box at the bottom of the screen. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jenn.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Super excited to have everybody here today. I absolutely love my work. I have the greatest job in the world. I love the bike industry, and I've worked there for about 19 years actually. And I truly believe in the power of bikes, you know, to change lives, to heal communities, to bring people together. And this is an exciting time for bikes, as many of you know. About 19 years ago, Tim Blumenthal hired me. He hired me at IMBA, and I worked at the International Mountain Biking Association for quite some time, for about 10 years. And then about 7 or so years ago, he hired me over to run the business network of People4Bikes and really lead with the voice of business. So it's been a wild ride of almost 19 years or so working in bike advocacy in the bike industry. And we have an amazing team right now at People4Bikes. We are really, truly punching above our weight, a lot of talented staff working tirelessly for our mission. And our mission is to put more people on bikes more often and to make every bike ride better for everyone. And we have a lot of questions that came in ahead of time. And you'll be asking questions throughout the town hall. But one thing I just wanted to ground us in is our 2020 work plan really drives all of our work. Our board of directors helps shape the vision for this every year, and they approve it every fall. And the 2020 work plan, we mailed 4,000 copies out to the bike industry, both this year and last year. And it really, all of our work boils down to basically 3 things. It's making sure that we grow bicycling in the bike industry, that we help cities rapidly improve their connected bike networks and measure their progress, and we reduce barriers for cycling and show people great rides. So overall, everything that we're talking about, it's all about growing bicycling in the bike industry, helping cities with connected bike networks, reducing barriers to riding, and show people great rides. So we truly believe in the power of the bike to help America recover, and to recover for the bike and recover through the bike, and really to emerge better than before from COVID-19 and beyond. So I just want to quick highlight 3 of our top priorities to quick walk you through those 3. Just to recap here for a second is that all of my work, both at PFB and at IMBA, has been about engaging as many people, including as many people as we possibly can. And whether it's meetings, in person, online, you're going to see a lot of that coming up this year and beyond. I truly believe in a tech data and technology driven trade association. We continually benchmark against other trade associations to see what does a modern day effective business association do. And you'll see a lot of that in our programs and the way we measure our effectiveness. And then last, of course, what's top of mind for anybody in the bike industry, any bike advocate, any bike enthusiast, we have a lot of people biking in America right now. It is an exciting time. And how do we keep the highest percentage possible of those people on their bikes, especially through the fall, through the winter, when a lot of towns return to normal? We want to reduce as many barriers for those people and help build the best possible bike networks and bike infrastructure in their community. So our top 3 goals, and I'll just go into those a little bit more, and then we'll roll into questions and answers. The first one, go into the next slide, on engaging and including. So on the inclusion front, you have seen our statement and our mobility and racial justice action plan, and I'm really proud of that work. And we know that this is not a check the box episode. This is something that we will be doing as long as I'm at People4Bikes, and we are really in it to create meaningful change. And so we took a hard look at all of our different channels. Like, we work with cities, we work with advocates, we work in bike share, we work with the bike industry, and we do a lot of internal hiring, onboarding, and retention. And of course, we want to make sure that in all 5 lanes, we're doing absolutely as much as we can, and really systematically looking through a racial equity lens in all of our work, to make sure that connected bike networks go from where you live to where they go, and that they serve all communities. You're going to see a lot more of our mobility and racial justice work. Our next, we're setting aggressive goals for ourselves, and we're doing equity audits, working with each one of our partners, et cetera. So our next milestone is November 1st, when we'll report back to the industry more of our work to make sure that bike advocacy, the bike industry, and bicycling in general is more inclusive to Black Americans, to BIPOC, and more. On the engagement part of it, our webinar series, our bicycle leadership conference, our executive fly-ins to Washington, D.C. or to your state capital. We've been doing draft meetups for years. We have a new ambassador program as part of our Ride Spot program. We want to make sure that we're reaching out, engaging, and including more people in our work. And we hear it time and again, and we can't wait for that moment post-COVID when events are allowed to resume, is that when people come together for an e-bike summit or an executive fly-in to DC, or one of our leaders gatherings here in Boulder, or one of our many committee meeting work, how much they learn from their peers and appreciate being part of their industry campaign and direction. And so we want to be that convener, we want to be that collaborator, and that leader, really engaging and including more people in our industry work and in bicycling in general. The next one is really pivoting around a data and technology driven trade association. And you'll see that in all of our programs, from Ride Spot to our business intelligence hub, to our city rating system. The cliche of, what gets measured gets improved. And so really proud, Patrick Hogan and Jennifer Boldry and our research and statistics committee produced our business intelligence hub in about April, May of COVID, where we knew that we need to know better data insights on ridership, retail sales, and consumer insights. And if you haven't hopped into the hub, I encourage you to do so. A lot of great information there. Weekly insights. We're doing general population surveys and enthusiast surveys through our People4Bikes Army. And thank you to a lot of our partners there. In our city rating system, our city ratings is our sort of smart, transparent, data-driven way to help cities improve their connected bike networks. And not only just a grade that we give these cities, but we give them tangible, tactical tools for what to do to improve their city rating system. And another layer that in the last 3 years that Kyle and Sarah and the Places team have brought is really sophisticated polling and messaging work, because we know for connected bike networks to be successful in cities, we have to persuade people that will never ride a bike. And through our polling and messaging work, we know that 65 to 75% of Americans who vote, and that's key, will support connected bike networks. So we layer in measurement with messaging and polling to really build out bike networks faster there. And the last thing on the data and technology front is really our Ride Spot program. We probably, in the history of PFB, we probably never designed a more strategically aligned program And we benchmarked against a lot of other trade associations. What's our data and technology play as a bike industry? And for us, that's RideSpot. And so we looked at the RV Association of America. You think we have a complicated product, a recreational vehicle is much more complicated. And how they do consumer-facing campaigns like Go RVing, how they track data and statistics behind who, in our case, who rides a bike, where they ride a bike. We'll collect 121 data points on our users. RideSpot is doing really well in keeping the conversation going with people that we sell a bike to by showing them great rides. And we can talk about that more later. And then the last quick thing, and our last big priority is, how do we keep the bike boom going? How do we keep the highest percentage of people bicycling? How do we change habits and hearts and minds? You've seen our COVID bicycle action plan. And if you haven't, send me an email. I'm happy to send it your way. But we're thinking about how do we make sure that bikes are a prominent and essential part of all aspects of COVID response and recovery. How do we insert bikes in the city level, at the state level, at the federal level? And that's what our policy team has been laser focused on, is using this forcing function that is COVID for momentum for better bike infrastructure, more protected bike lanes, slower speed limits. Really, people are rethinking how they move around their community and how they live their life, and how the bike is a real mobility solution for people that might be apprehensive about jumping back into crowded transit. They're thinking about public health and climate change in a new way. And we see nothing but opportunity with really making the bike a prominent part of leading us out of recovery. So just quick highlights on 3 of our main priorities moving forward, and happy to jump into the Q&A section.
Thanks, Jen. What a great opportunity to see and hear about all of the amazing things happening at PeopleForBikes and our partners. Just as a friendly reminder, please type your questions into the Q&A box. And if we don't get your questions answered today, we will absolutely follow up via an email. There will be no question that'll go unanswered today. To get us kicked off, our team has had discussions with our board and the 100 members on our BPSA subcommittees to field some questions to get us started. So I'm gonna kind of kick us off with some of those questions and then move to some of the live questions that are coming in. Jen, first question. How do you plan to inspire industry leaders to look outside their organizations to invest more in resources, to invest more of their resources into the overall health of the bike industry and cycling in general?
Wow, big one. Well, obviously, first of all, we thank you to the 280 supplier members that we have right now and the 1,100 RideSpot retailer members. So we have a robust industry network, and we're so grateful for our membership. We literally could not do the work we do in that work plan and beyond without coalition membership. So we're super grateful. We've actually seen 70 new members since July 1 of last year, and those weren't members of BPSA, those weren't members of PeopleForBikes, those are new members of whole cloth, and a lot of them are on our new boards and subcommittees, and we love that. All back to our engagement goal. But I'm not gonna lie, every board meeting, we have a list for our board of directors of those companies that are not part of the coalition. And we really struggle to get our message out. Some people want to join PeopleForBikes because they know their consumers care about giving back to a larger goal of getting more people on bikes. Others love our tariff work, and that Alex Logeman and Charles Cooper and Noah Benayan in DC, they lead our trade and tariff work, and they've literally saved, it's $100 million in Section 301 tariffs in the last 12 months plus, and another $50 million till the end of the year. Our miscellaneous tariffs bill, I think we're going to save another $18 million for the bike industry. So I think a lot of these new members are coming because of our effective programs and because of of saving people money. But we look at that list all the time of who's not on, and we struggle to appeal to all members of the bike industry. So to be brutally honest, we'd love your advice, and we envision a day where 99% of the bike industry is united behind their trade association, united behind PeopleForBikes for more and better riding.
Thanks, Jen.
I promise my next answers will be shorter.
That was a great answer. And I also think it's really important to know what we don't know and to know that there's a lot of partners out there that currently are in our network and kind of how can we bring them in as members. That's really great. Jen, do you have examples of where city ratings data has helped to influence decisions made at a federal, state, or local level?
Definitely. I mean, the whole reason behind city ratings is not to have an amorphous rating system, to show people in 5 areas, ridership, safety, network, acceleration, reach, how they're doing and how they can improve their bike network. I'd say the first quick example that jumps to mind is that we do a deep dive in about 6 cities where we rapidly expand their networks in 24 months. And Denver is a great example where Denver was ready to do some low-hanging fruit bike infrastructure improvements. We ran it through city ratings and our bicycle network analysis tool. And Sarah and Kyle and the team said to Denver, you can make these improvements, but it is not going to improve your overall score. It really is a low barrier. It is not connecting your network and helping people go from where they live to where they need to go. And so by working with Denver and and local advocacy groups and rejiggering their priorities, now they're building much more effective use of their funds that people will hopefully actually use. I'll bet Sarah has a better answer.
That's a great answer. No, I would say that we see communities across the country using the city ratings to really identify the inequities in their current bike network, you know, understanding that urban planning has a lot of history with the systemic racism in our country, and then they're able to use city ratings to figure out how their bike network can be equitable and reach, you know, as many neighborhoods and as many amenities as possible. Jen, PeopleForBikes, and with a variety of other partners, is starting to think more about how we can get more kids and youth on bikes and have access to bikes. I'd love if you could share kind of our exciting new work that we're doing with youth and bikes.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking it. We have the Youth Cycling Coalition. About a year ago, we gathered in Bentonville, and it was 8 national youth cycling nonprofits. We'll see if I can get them all. USA Cycling, USA BMX, Trips for Kids, Little Bellas, NICA, Safe Routes to School, Free Bikes for Kids, did I say that? But basically, 8 national youth cycling groups came together to really talk about what can you do from age 2 to 22 to keep kids riding. And we know that in middle school and high school is usually where people who ride bikes drop off markedly. And we have all these national groups that do amazing, really effective work. But how do we work better together? How do we go from 2 to middle school to grade school to high school and really keep youth on that cycling trajectory? And so we're getting ready. That group meets monthly. USA Cycling and PeopleForBikes is funding a youth program manager. And she's in the process of working with the board, and they are picking a pilot project. We'll announce that city, I'm sure, pretty soon, and invite other partners in. We've recently been talking to Specialized about including the Outride Foundation and their Riding for Focus work. A lot of other youth cycling groups as well out there that want to be part, and we want to go all in one city, measure, establish best practices, and scale to other cities. So it's really exciting kids work and part of writing a youth cycling strategy.
That's awesome. I always learn something new when I hear about this new initiative, and it's really great. Can you give us an update, switching gears a little bit, can you give us an update on the financial health of PeopleForBikes?
Yeah, it's important to note that we have both a 501c3 and a 501c6 IRS classification. The C3 is a foundation. That's about a $7 million budget. The C6 is a trade association business industry group. That's about a $4 million budget. So all in, we're a little less than 11 million. We've got about 28 staff. Financial health is sound. We certainly, like everybody at the beginning of COVID, cut back like crazy because of being in a recession and not knowing what parts of COVID will really affect our work, especially without events and some of our partners and some of our events revenue. So we're sound. We have a really solid reserve. The foundation is a big number, and it's important to note that about 97% of that is passed through to cities and funds a lot of our sophisticated city work. So knock on wood, we're strong, we have a good reserve, we're conservative in our spending, and we're hoping that the bike boom brings a lot more new members investing in our work.
Jen, you've mentioned RideSpot a few times, and I'd love if you could talk more about, who the target audience for RideSpot is, and how will this platform work collaboratively or in competition with other existing route and heat map platforms?
Sure. So RideSpot was designed by the 20 Collective. They were a group of 20 of our nation's biggest bike retailers, lots of names that you guys know for sure. And they came to us and said, we sell a lot of bikes, and when the bike goes out the door, we don't know what happens to that bike. We don't know if they get a flat tire or if they run into a barrier to cycling, and we don't keep that sort of conversation going. And we talked about a more sophisticated Got Milk campaign, if you will, for the bike industry. Instead of just advertising, you should go ride your bike, we wanted to show people specific places to go ride. Because we know the number one barrier to riding is people don't know where to go that's safe and fun, and they're constantly asking bike shops, where do I ride my bike? We also, as a bike industry, don't do a good job of talking to beginners, to intermediates, and this is our play to talk about experiences, how much fun you can have on a bike, and our target demographic is really the people that are new and returning, are insecure or infrequent cyclists. And so our goal is to move those people up the ladder of engagement so that they are enthusiasts, they buy more product, they work their way up into Strava or Map My Ride or some of the other enthusiast apps. But we know we need a pipeline and we need to bring these people along. And so our target audience is really people that are new to cycling and how to welcome them and show them great experiences. One recent stat I read last week is Bicycle Sport Shop out of Austin. It sent out their weekly e-newsletter, and their RideSpot ride had 47% of the clicks for that e-newsletter. And we see that time and again. When you talk to your customers about a great experience and a great ride, that is, they're really excited about where to go next. They want curated routes that meet them where they are and the kind of bike they have and the kind of experience they have. So that answers, I guess, the demographic, and that's how it plays with other tools. It certainly syncs with Garmin and other enthusiast applications, but really our target is really trying to keep people out on great rides.
Thanks, Jen. Our first live question of the town hall from Marley. You just discussed the ambassador program as part of RideSpot. How does someone learn more about the ambassador, and how do you become an ambassador for RideSpot?
Thank you, Marley. We have 60 RideSpot ambassadors right now, and a big part of this program is, again, meeting people where they are, showing them the great routes for them, and bringing them along on this journey. And so I would love, you can email Jen at PeopleForBikes.org, and I can connect you with our ambassador program. And we have ambassadors of all stars and stripes across the country, and their stories are captivating, and they're really welcoming and inclusive. And I think about it, when I see, I'm a woman in my 40s, and if I see like a 22-year-old in a full face helmet hugging off of something, that's probably not the ride for me. And so we think about our consumer segments and what they want to see and what will be welcoming. And we're looking for ambassadors all across the country to meet people where they are and encourage more people to ride.
Thanks, Jen. And as we talk about new riders, I'm sure a lot of people participating in the town hall is thinking of the bike boom that we've seen as a response to COVID. With the boom in cycling, how much potential do you see to bring in some of these new people, new riders, on board to PFB and our Army, and also kind of how do we reach them? How do we get connected with the new riders?
Great question, and we need all the help we can get. So PFB, we'll take the big policy swings, we'll go for the big infrastructure funding and access, but we need like a lot of little base hits, to use a sports analogy. We need everybody in the bike industry and advocacy, and we know everyone's thinking about it, to welcome those new riders, show them great rides, give them tips and tricks to keep them coming. And keep them enthusiastic about the bike. And you think about back to your first journey when you learned how to ride, and that special someone that was your guide, to a great ride. whether it was like hand signals or how to get over a log, or do I wear my underwear with my chamois, or, you know, all the little beginner things that you're embarrassed to ask about. We want to have, through the ambassador program, through our Ride Spot campaign, through suppliers, through retailers, through advocates, we all have to be part of keeping these folks riding and on their bikes, and just meeting them where they are and encouraging them to keep going.
No, not only is new riders growing, but our member list has grown at People for Bikes and the BPSA. You know, how many new BPSA members have come on board in the last 12 months?
70 actually. So I think we're up to 280 supplier brand members. So we probably represent 80% or so of the bike industry. And really, it's been exciting to see people reach out every week wanting to be part of People for Bikes. And it feels like there's a lot of momentum for some of our new services, like the Business Intelligence Hub. We have a new sustainability working group that we're partnering with the Outdoor Industry Association on. I think we've got about 18 leaders that have joined our sustainability committee. We'll be forming a mobility and racial justice and diversity and equity inclusion subcommittee as well, to make sure that we're getting more people of color, more Black Americans in the bike industry. We're being more welcoming and inclusive. So that'll be the next committee that we're forming as well. So it's been an exciting time because there's been a lot of momentum to get involved in your industry trade association and be part of our vision and our solutions moving forward.
Kind of keeping with the theme of growth, you know, we at People for Bikes are really committed to anti-racism and mobility justice work, you know, really listening and learning, but also understanding and acknowledging our role and how we can be a more inclusive organization, as well as support the bike industry and advocacy, you know, to represent the diversity of Americans. So I'm just curious, Jen, like, you could talk to kind of how many women and minorities currently serve on our board of directors, and kind of how are we looking to kind of diversify our leadership team on a board level in the future?
Great question. And definitely the answer is not enough. You know, that is front of mind, I can say, for our board of directors, for our leaders, for our staff, for how do we get more women? How do we get more Black Americans? How do we get more people of color? It's a very low percentage, and I should know that. So that's on me. Staff-wise, we actually, I think we're majority female staff, if you will. But that's why we need to be better at every level of our work. And we're in the middle of our internal equity audit. We'll be also doing a second audit. We'll be working with our bike industry partners for actionable insights. The bike industry is hungry for this work. And we've also been partnering with Canberra Outdoors on how to make sure that we help all aspects of the bike industry, from when you ride a bike to when you consider working in a bike shop to when we know a lot of our industry executives come from bike shops in the first place. So we've been looking at bike shops as a pipeline. We've been looking at ridership, NICA as well. It's like, how do we get more people of color on bikes everywhere across America? It's an area of real weakness and real concern for us, for sure.
Thanks, Jen. I also think to be transparent and to be honest about topics like this is really, really important. And so, you know, I think your leadership and being transparent can help kind of influence other people to have hard conversations and talk about successes and failures as well. So when we look towards Congress, we have a big transportation bill in the works that could equal like big time funding, some of the most funding kind of in modern America that can go towards transportation mobility. Can you share a little bit more about that bill?
Absolutely. So huge news in Congress. First the Senate bill and then the House bill has been major increases in funding for bike networks, and a lot of great fixes that we've been looking for a long time to reduce red tape, to build connected bike networks, to help with commuter incentives. You've probably seen our peers over in Europe with fantastic incentives to inspire people to ride, pre-tax, funding for bike repairs, funding for e-bikes, et cetera. So in the congressional bill, we'll see more funding for our bread and butter bike infrastructure programs, and that translates into about 3,000 projects, new bike projects a year. We'll see more funding for our recreational trails program, trailhead, single track, bike parks, et cetera. Commuter incentives as well. And so the transportation bill, we have a bicycle infrastructure coalition that our team in Washington, D.C. has been leading for years, and they work with a lot of other partners in Washington, like the League and like Safe Routes to School, Rails to Trails, and others. And so not only the transportation bill is a big boom for cycling, also we just passed, many of you probably saw that we passed the Great American Outdoors Act. That's permanent funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund. And that means parks, open space, trailheads. It also includes significant funding for our public lands maintenance backlog. So when you go to a national park and the bathrooms are a mess, or the trailhead is in disrepair, or the single track is washing away, that Great American Outdoors Act is funding our maintenance backlog and also permanently funding our Land and Water Conservation Fund. So two big news, big wins for bikes coming out of Congress.
How is People for Bikes and our Better Bike Share partnership kind of collaborating with micromobility, the micromobility industry, kind of as a way to create more equitable, not only micromobility systems, but equitable places to use those devices?
Yeah, the Better Bike Share partnership is a fantastic partnership. It's probably our 4th year of funding, and we're working in communities all across the country to help bike share extend to communities of color, to low income, underserved communities, and to reduce barriers to riding. We have a fantastic blog. The woman that writes it, her name is Farah Daniels, and you can sign up at the Better Bike Share partnership. And we get a Friday email of all these exciting, innovative partnerships that are happening out all across the country. So it's a big part of our mobility and racial justice program work. And it's really, cutting edge in terms of tactical ways to make sure that bikes extend to all communities.
Thanks, Jen, so much. So we are at time, and I want to thank, first of all, Jenn Dice for handling our very first town hall and our Q&A. And then also thank you to everyone that has submitted questions. Again, no question is going to go unanswered. We also got a great question kind of like right at call time about, you know, how the folks on the call can help People for Bikes. And so we'll absolutely be following up with resources and tools for us to continue to work together. So again, thank you very much for our very first town hall. And Jen, anything else?
Yeah, I'd say that last question is perfect, and the perfect tee up for the final is that we'd love for you to join. We'd love for you to keep Americans riding bikes through RideSpot and on your own, and that we have a big job to do. We've got a lot of people that love bikes right now, and let's keep them loving bikes. So thank you for participating. Thank you to Sarah and Brody for setting up the webinar, and let's all work together to put more people on bikes more often and make every bike ride better for everyone. So thanks, everybody.